so far, my takeaway, I need to launch way more products. I used to be in that frame of mind, and I kind of stopped. So when you're adding products, like I know you talked about variations, but what is your strategy, and like how do you pick the next products to launch?
So then there are a few strategies, and we did a lot of try and error to see what's the best strategies. But I would say you definitely want to keep your market share. So you are in, I don't know, your best product is milk frother,
Yep.
and you don't want to lose that. So add as many products as you can related to that market, you know, um, because once you lose it, you might lose it forever. It might not come back. So that's the first strategy.
So if
Secondly
you're
is
so you're okay, so let me just take it for someone else. Let's go back to pens, right? So if you have like, let's say you have some markers, you want to do felt tip markers, you want to do permanent markers, you want to do highlighter markers, you want to do multiple colors, you want to do different sizes, you want to do fat markers, skinny markers. This is what you're talking about, merchandising around your category. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So if whatever people know you as, say, hey, I don't know, what does Mr. Pen sell? And when your customers, say, hey, Mr. Pen, the first thing they remember, what is that market? Is it pens, highlighters, or for you, milk product, garlic press, whatever it is? You want to keep that and just add as many products in different categories of the same product as much as you can. So that's our first strategy.
Yep.
Um, Frequently bought together. If I'm selling something and they're buying it with a competitor, I might as well just make that other thing that the other person is having, and then try to buy them together. Try to have the customers buy those together. So that's another one. Um, that's the two main ones, really.
Okay, so
And
you lead it by
then
the customer.
there
That's
are some
the customer's
others.
leading. Yeah. Oh, what others? Okay,
Yeah.
tell me. What's the other one?
Um, I mean, this, like, let's say if I'm selling like glasses, I'm selling glasses,
Hmm.
okay, and I see Stanley Cup or Simple Modern is so good, it's so trendy, but it's not glass. So what
Yep.
if I make my glass shape like that? I don't know. That's just the thinking. You take a risk. It might be good. It might not be good.
Yeah.
I make a
Yeah. So
coffee, I don't know, coffee, whatever, tumbler, but glass, but that looks like that, something like that.
nice. So
So
you're
you
doing like
look at the
hybrids,
market and based on the
frontier.
trends, yeah,
So you're basically, that's innovation, really. You're talking about adding something that doesn't really exist yet.
yes. And this is one that we struggle the most with, like because it's a risk. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's a big fail.
Yeah. So then, and when you start a product, right? So you're saying, hey, you're going to add felt tip pens, right? Because whatever, people buy those. Or you're adding permanent markers. Or you're adding, I don't know, a marker that has a tip on both sides. I don't know if you sell those, but like, let's say, good. We
The
just started
double.
with both sides now, and you've added now 1,000 of these in a year. What has been your success rate? Like your percentage of these products that actually end up being profitable, and how much do you discontinue?
Um, Good question. It really depends on what you call success. You know, how much margin do you call success,
I
and
call
how many
success
units per
making
day?
more money than break even. If you made back your money and anything, I would say that's successful because you're getting reviews for free in
Okay,
that case.
I think a contribution margin, uh, 20% or lower is when we call it unsuccessful.
So what does that
So
mean?
that
So that
means
means what?
that means sales price minus cost of goods minus Amazon fees.
Okay, gross margin. When you
To
have a gross margin
Yeah,
without
gross
ads,
margin or
without ads.
contribution. We
Yeah,
call
meaning if you have to price it
no with
where you lose
ads.
money at the beginning, then that's a failure.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's not you might launch it that way, and then but
Sure.
you have a period of time and say, okay, after a month, I need to see where I am, and if I can get where I want to be. Let's say we call it gross margin more than 20%, then that's a good product. And then it depends. If you sell 1 unit a day, no, that's not a good product. But if you sell
Correct.
more than 20, I would say it's a good product. So 20 units at 20+% margin, that's a success. Now, how many
But
is
hold
the
on,
success rate?
hold
I
on,
would say
because
50%.
because what I see is if you're not taking into account the ad costs, to me, if your gross margin or contribution margin is 20%, but then you don't run ads on it and it still sells, I'm fine with that product forever. If it's making 20% margin, so you don't calculate
I did count
after that.
the ad cost as part of that. Ad cost
Oh,
is
wow.
part of it.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So you're
Yeah.
really talking about the net. I call that kind of the net profit. Like the products. Okay, so you call that contribution margin. Fine. I mean, I haven't used that word, but you're saying the product, if you didn't have any salaries, staff, rent, anything else, like how much did that make, right? So that's the profit. When you're talking about Amazon fees, you're including advertising. You're saying
Yes.
you're saying good sale price minus all fees, ads, storage, refunds, product cost, everything else, what you have left over, you want that to be higher than 20%. Well, in
Yes.
your
And
case
that,
also,
no,
if you're selling
I
a
want
product...
that, and I call that the success.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Now, again, realize, and I just want to put something in perspective here, right? For me, I have items that sell. I have, for example, a coffee machine that sells for over $800, right? For me, if I'm at 10% of that, I'm good because every unit I'm making $80, right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference on the margin. When you have an $8 product, if you have a 10% margin, that means you're making 80 cents, right? It's a little different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would say, if you make a house, if you're selling a house in real estate, you get a 1.5%, 2.5%, and you're like, damn, you just made hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when your price goes up, I think that percentage, the acceptable, goes down. But at your price point, I do understand that's 20%, right? You need to make more than $1 per unit, like, please. It's basically what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
Okay, so then
I would
with
say
that
the success rate is about 40-50%.
40-50%. So half of them eventually don't make it, and when those don't succeed, what is your thought process? Do you like revive those from the dead and new images and new video and change it and new ads, and you put a lot of effort, or you just say, good, that's not a winner, drop it, go to the next one?
But we try to revive it maybe one time and see what happens, you know. And if it doesn't work, that means it's not a good product. And then usually by bringing the price down, you can make it work.
Yeah.
Meaning, okay, now profit margin on this product is not going to be 20, but it's 10. It's still good, at that 20 units per day. What if I bring it to 20? How many units I sell per day for that? 2 or 3. Okay. Now I go to the factory and say, hey, can you bring the MOQ down to 1,000 units rather than 5,000 or whatever it is? And then if they say yes, then we would order it and sell at 1 or 2 units a day or 3 units a day at 20% margin. If not, then it's dead.
Okay, so the product, no matter what kind of profit, if it makes $5 per day, you generally say you keep it as long as you don't have to have, years of inventory.
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing that I think adds a lot of value that I haven't seen any Amazon seller that think about this. And this happened when I wanted to get a loan from a bank. And they came and it was an asset-based loan on my inventory.
Okay.
And whenever they did, they said you need to have an obsolescence policy.
What the hell is
means with the inventory, you have to have a policy. You can call it however many years, but the bank wanted me to set a 2-year. So whatever inventory that's going to sit in my warehouse or in the US, more than 2 years, it needs to be calculated and then subtracted from my profit. It's a loss. So for example, they said, whatever inventory you have that's less than 6 months, that's nothing. But from 6 months to 1 year, we say 25% of it is a loss. From 1 year to 2 years, we say 50% of it is a loss. From 2 years on, we say 100% of it is a loss. That's another thing that made us, hey, we can't have this much inventory at hand. Like, it's a risk.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that is true. I believe in that.
Yeah.
You know why? I've seen companies, so we actively buy companies, and I know you've bought companies too. I know you bought a really fantastic brand, and you've been growing it. But we've seen in acquisitions, when a company has 4 years of inventory, they're saying, hey, I don't care if I'm profitable, just buy my inventory at cost and I'm good. People are discounting their valuations because nobody wants that. Because if I'm buying a company, I put down money and I want to see a return on my investment, right? I want to see 30% on my money. So if I put $1 million, it should bring me, $300K. If I need to spend $2 million of inventory, but it's profitable making $300K, I'm now making an 8% or whatever it is on my money, and I don't want it. So when you have excess inventory, it makes it very hard to sell your company because it's dead weight. So, I'm just agreeing with you that.
Exactly. But the thing is, maybe for you that you go and buy companies, that would be a point of negotiation for sure. I'm telling you, like the bank use that excess inventory on my P&L. So this will bring your profit lower. Your profit is not actually $1 million. You have $200,000 extra inventory. Your profit is $800K, not $1 million. So your multiple now, it's gonna be 2.4. Not
That's true, and I will tell you why. Because it's an unrealized loss. Because one day you might have to dump it in the garbage, right?
Exactly.
And that's happened to us where we have inventory and like it's profit. Inventory, IRS counts inventory as profit. But you're going to have to dump that inventory. And so you have fake profit when you have that inventory. So, I tend to agree with that bank.